Good evening, everyone. Let's start with the Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Can we have roll call, please?
Supervisor McCloskey?
Present.
Councilwoman Campbell?
Present.
Councilman Tompori?
Present.
Councilman Roseman?
Here.
Councilwoman Kwasi?
Here.
Okay. Good evening, everyone. The first item we have on our agenda tonight is, okay. We had executive session, no votes were taken. And, okay, so now I'm going to invite Mark Rowland from, from Limnology, Information and Freshwater Ecology to come up and talk to us about our plan of action for
the summer
of 2022.
Yes.
Yes.
Good evening, everybody. I'm Mark Rowland from Life Incorporated, a little bit abbreviated. I'm not sure if any of you really know who I am, so I'll just give you a quick little background. I actually grew up in Seven Hills Lake in the town of Kent. I was a town of Kent resident for, 28 years before I actually moved to the town of Dutchess County. So my business my business that I own now is my dad's, began because of Seven Hills Lake, and we treated that for many, many years. Fast forward from 1973 all the way to 2022. My company is now owned by myself, and I've been managing lakes and ponds for, I'm almost 54. I just finished my 36th year of taking care of lakes and ponds. Back in 2015, I was contacted by then the town supervisor, Maureen Fleming, and she actually called my firm and a few others because the Lake Carmel began to have a lot of blue-green algae blooms, which we call HAB, harmful algae blooms, and that was very late in the season. We were able to push through a permit to the state of New York, DEC, up in New Paltz for a copper sulfate permit, and we did our best to get that under control for the season, but it was late when we started the treatments, and we did the best we could. In 2016, I tried to get the plan a little quicker and get things moving, and that again didn't always work as well as I had wanted to. 2016 had a pretty bad bloom. We started treating in July, and we had to do about 3 treatments. 2017 and on was the first couple of years that I basically came to the board and said, instead of backtracking every time we wanted to do a treatment, which was, I'll explain the process that was before, and what I hope to try to ask the town to work with me for the seasons to come, is that once a contract or a proposal is approved by the town board, that as the expert, I should be the one to decide when a treatment is necessary. I work very, very closely with your lifeguards. I forget her last name. I know Ann is the head lifeguard. She has my cell phone number. She texts me all summer long anytime she sees anything, because I actually live in Hopewell Junction, which is very close, as you know. I pass by here constantly. I come here on Sundays. I come in on Saturdays in the morning on my way out to do treatments. If I'm sitting in the office and she calls me and something's wrong, I come out very quickly. I know I'm not the only firm, in the world that does this work, but I'm probably the only firm that's about 15 minutes from you to come out here and, get to you as soon as possible. So she contacts me as soon as she sees the slightest anything in the water body. I've come when she's seen just a little bit of water meal floating around. I've come when she's seen, a haze that really was just a haze. But when she sees the algae bloom, she's pretty good when she gets the blue-green algae bloom spotted. She calls me very quickly. And from the time a bloom begins, I need about basically 7 days to get to work. So basically what happens is there's rules and regulations that New York State DEC imposes upon applicators. First of all, we have to have a permit in place. So a permit in place should be done by no later than March or April of this season, so it's in place. And then they require 7 days notice for any treatments to occur. So what I do is I kind of play a little game, which I do with lots of clients. I just put the client's name on a list, and whether I treat them or not, it doesn't really matter. I just keep moving them forward and forward and forward. And I have a pretty good idea, since I've been working with the lake for many years. The first treatment of Lake Carmel should always happen between the end of June and right around July 4th weekend. That's usually when it pops. And what I like to do is I like to be ready for that. I like to give DEC 7-day notice, and then, because I'm not a tremendously large firm, I need to get 220 gallons of product delivered to me. And sometimes, and I did this one year, I actually drove to Pennsylvania one July 4th to make sure that you were able to have a treatment on July 5th. So I've done everything I possibly could to make sure that the lake's been taken care of. Also, I'll just mention a couple things from the proposal that I gave you. Your proposal is written more as a caring of a town that I grew up in versus a client that I'm trying to make money off of. I'm not going to tell you that I make no money off of your treatment because I have to cover my costs, but I will tell you that the dollar figures that I do come up with for your treatments are pretty low numbers. I don't charge any money for the permits as far as preparing them for you. I only collect what the state charges myself, and like I said, I get here to you, as soon as possible. And like I said, I've been managing water bodies since I was about 16. Like I said, I'm now 54, so I've been almost 54. I don't age myself too much. So I do a lot of treatments. Your lake is a little over, I forget, it's 180 something acres or 200 something acres. I have it written down. But of large lakes that I take care of, similar to yours, I do take care of Putnam Lake for the town of Patterson. I do take care of Mohegan Lake. This year, again, I won that bid. I take care of a lake called Converse Lake, which is about 100 something acres in the town of Greenwich. And again, throughout New York and Connecticut, I manage over 300 water bodies, ranging from 1/4 of an acre up to about 250 acres is my largest one. I have a crew of 4 people. Myself and somebody else are full-time applicators, and then we have assistants, and we go through and, we treat your lake in about, it takes us almost a full day to get everything done by the time we post and do all the treatments and get everything taken care of. So, I'm coming here today, and what I'm asking, I'm, setting a proposal. I would still like to, manage the water body. Again, it comes more of a neighboring water body that I, grew up in the area, and I do like to give back to my community. So I'm here to provide you with a proposal. I've, emailed it over. I think we dated it February 11th. And if it's approved, what I would again ask for is that, and I work very closely with your personal assistants and yourself via email, which was sometimes a little difficult at times. I'm very good at email and texting. What I like to be able to do is to make sure that you are on the 7-day notice list when I think it's going to be almost time for treatments. And then once I come and look at the lake and I say, okay, we need to get this treated in the next 48 hours, then I can just send an email quickly and pull the switch, versus there were times when the former supervisor and the town board would actually have to agree to it again, even once it was approved, which I always thought was kind of like a double approval, which also at times kind of tied my hands and able to get the product in or to make myself available, because there are other clients that need to be taken care of. I'm not saying I come and treat your lake just to treat your lake. I never would do that. It would absolutely be, I think it needs to be treated. We have the blue-green algae scene, and of course you don't want the lake shut down, because it is going to get shut down. Sooner or later, the town, the health department is going to come and shut the lake down if it gets to be exasperated. What we want to be able to do is hopefully make that as short-lived as possible, and to be able to get the blue-green algae as necessary. One really large piece of information that you should know is that in any treatment with an algicide, the label rules, the state rules, and what's good for the water body is we can only treat with half the product at a time. So again, let me just pull some of the records so you can see it. So the lake is approximately 217 acres, so about 218 acres. And we treated about 0.6 gallons per acre foot, which means we can treat Per treatment, we can treat only about 200 and change, because again, we only can treat using half the product, which is basically treating half the lake at a time. And sometimes people don't understand is when you have a full lake that's totally green, I can't kill it all in one shot. And there are times when we need to come back and do it again. We've done our best, and I think we've been very successful with one treatment, getting it under control, and then coming back and then just treating the beach areas. And that minimizes everybody's costs, and that's, you know, worked very well. Last year, that's exactly what we did. We did one treatment on July 6th, and then we came back on July 20th, and we just did the beach areas. In 2020, we only had to do one treatment. In 2019, we also only did do one treatment, and it is always weather dependent. I mean, last year we had a lot of rain. The year before that, it was very hot. That was also the year that was COVID, it was very hot. You also had the lake level down. I guess that was a mistake of timing, and it was a little, and you grew a lot of what's called chara, which you don't want again. What happens is when the water body is very low, then sunlight penetrates all the way to the bottom. You get an algae, it's called chara, it looks like a plant. And the lake was covered from head to toe, especially the other side of the causeway that, you know, not too many people use. But, you know, that's basically what we've done for years. And you have the proposal. So I assume you shared it with the board. You know, if approved, I would just need some type of, you know, resolution. And what I've always done in the past is I never bill until the end of the season. So at the end of the season, I send one bill for the number of treatments and the permits. I pay for the permits myself up front and get it all taken care of for you, and then we just get one check done at the end of the season, and, you know, everybody's happy with, you know, the financial part. And if you have any questions, I'm open to it. I will tell you that there's going to be there are some changes in the rules and regulations with DEC as far as posting. I do want to talk to this town supervisor and the board about posting. If we, you know, get to that point, there's some signs that need to be posted, and then all of a sudden this year they need to be taken down. We don't need to pay. I was putting up like 3,000 signs, which I think was a waste of paper, and DEC agrees that it was a little too much, so we may, you know, amend that as well. But, you know, we can talk about that if approved. But if you have any questions, I'm now here, happy to help, you know, take them. You can ask me math questions too. I'm a math teacher at Dutchess Community College for 20 plus years, so I'm pretty good at that as well.
Hey, Mark. So I don't know if you're aware of it, but we are looking to hire a part-time lake manager this year to do a lot of lake studies and stuff on the lake for a whole bunch of different reasons. And some of the questions that have come out, and the numbers almost fall right in line. And this was just some notes from some of them. You know, like you said, 0.6 gallons per acre, 200 acres, they said roughly. So the one thing is how deep you go into this. You're typically treating 2.5 feet down into the water?
More 5 feet, not 2.5 feet, 5 feet.
All right, because that would be the difference. The numbers that you were saying of gallons is higher than here, but that would make sense of why they're saying that.
You can't treat it why would you treat it 2.5 gallons?
I'm just reading. I'm not an expert on this by any means, trust me.
Okay.
I am, you know, I know very little about this, but the copper sulfate is from what I know, growing up, when it used to be able to get it regularly, you threw it in your pond to kill all the weeds and vegetation in there.
It doesn't kill weeds, only kills algae.
They never put it down for weeds and stuff?
Copper sulfate is strictly an algicide used at 0.3 parts per million at 0.82 pounds per acre foot in the state of New York.
All right, so my question, and I could be way off base, I'm just trying to
No,
fish
of
around
course.
to get
I'm
some
here to
answers,
answer whatever questions you'd like.
Why does Lake Carmel barely have any weeds left in it anymore?
Oh, because you, your harvester harvested them all those years, and you also had carp that ate a lot of your curly-leaf pondweed. So unfortunately, for every action, there's a reaction. So Lake Carmel used to have a lot of milfoil and a lot of curly-leaf pondweed. And that harvester that, you know, I watched for years and years and years, started taking all the weeds. I know you put carp in as well. So you have almost no weeds. And because you have almost no weeds, now, again, there has to be some type of happy medium. They stripped away all the weeds, which means that any nutrients that finds its way into the water body has no place to go.
Right.
So when you take nutrients and a nice hot summer day and all that sunlight, blam, that's where your blue-green algae comes from. The only thing that you really have is the inlet area that has all those lilies in there.
Yeah.
That's really your only form of a natural buffer. So you have, because there are no weeds.
So the lake would be healthier if it had weeds in it.
Some.
Native weeds, not invasive weeds.
Yeah, now the problem is once you have some weeds, the weeds are going to take over the lake as well.
Right.
So if you have the curly leaf pondweed and the milfoil, after X amount of years, your lake would be 100% weeds. So it's very, very difficult to find that 100% happy medium when you have a large lake that you want to use the entire lake. So I'll give you an example for my 100-acre lake in Greenwich. There are, and again, we're talking Greenwich, so just please bear with me with the idea of Greenwich. So there's a 100-acre lake, and we treat like 65 acres of it. The middle we allow, there's a weed that's called large leaf pondweed, and it can grow only a certain height, and the lake is very deep, and they don't really care that it grows in the middle because they're only really utilizing their dock areas.
Right.
But there's also only 12 extremely wealthy people living around the lake and using, just their beach areas. And when they go out in the middle and fish, they're not getting caught in too many weeds because large leaf pondweed is not as invasive and it doesn't take over as much, and is also easier to keep in one spot. Where the weeds that have come up in Lake Carmel are the weeds that propagate to the point where you have one patch, you have two patches, and then you have 180 acres of it. So unfortunately, it's very, very difficult to just manage one spot. And as I've noticed with Lake Carmel, people are using like 100% of it, except for, again, the other side of the causeway and maybe where the lilies are not. Otherwise, I see people boating out there, fishing out there, swimming. I mean, I've seen people swimming the middle of that lake.
Yeah.
So it's being used a lot.
Thank you. Nancy, from a procurement question, he's given us a bid here tonight. Do we need 3 bids?
I think the information we were given was, for whatever reason, Life is a sole source provider, that there's nobody that really does what they do, and I don't know what the rationale behind that is.
Well, you have received bids over the years. In 2020, you did put it out to bid. You got a bid from Solitude Lake Management, and you got a bid from the Pond and Lake Connection. We're the 3 biggest people. Okay, we are the 3 biggest groups. So Solitude Lake Management covers like 32 states. Pond and Lake Connection covers about 6 to 8 different states. I cover about 2 different states. The last time you did put it out to bid, I did win the bid. You are of course free to put it out to bid as much as you want.
And there's
Yeah.
I'm
No,
not
no,
trying to say
I
about you.
understand.
I'm just trying to put, this
Yeah.
could be law that we have to do that.
And all 3 of those companies use the Q-Treen Ultra, because that is one of the reasons why I remember the town board went to you back, because we were having a problem with.
Well, yeah, so
Yeah.
Solitude will try to sell you Earth Tech, which is a product that is very similar to copper sulfate, which is cheaper than Q-Treen Ultra, for sure. I personally only used it twice and found it very ineffective. That's my personal opinion from all the years of work that I've been doing as far as harmful algae blooms. Q-Treen Ultra happens to work the best. I mean, we've used copper sulfate in the past year. I've used copper sulfate for my entire life. We've used hundreds and hundreds of pounds of it. So I'll give you another example. So Mohegan Lake, I won their bid. Mohegan Lake gets treated every other week because our blue-green algae is just like it starts in April and it just is all year long. And we treat that lake every other week because that's what you're allowed to do. And they have aerators going, they have weeds in there, they've done everything from start to finish to try and control their blue-green algae, and they have yet to control it. So they choose what they wanted. They have this whole park commission, and they've done all their research. So they'll tell me, we want you to do copper sulfate this week. We want you to do Earth Tech this week. We want you to do Q-Treen Ultra this week. And they control the cost based upon the bid for each product. I personally, that's what they want. That's what I give them. I'm in business to earn a living. Again, when I come before you, I get a permit for copper sulfate. Or I would get a permit for copper sulfate because I like to keep it around because it's a very simple, cheap product to use when we just want to hit the beach areas. and it works very quickly. I also keep a copper sulfate permit, although it would have to be amended. I'm not sure if you realize or understand, but there's a really big snail population in your lake.
Oh, yeah.
And a couple years ago, we had a swimmer's itch problem, and Maureen contacted me, was like, we have swimmer's itch. And I'm actually licensed to do a special copper sulfate treatment in the beach areas for swimmer's itch. So we keep the copper sulfate permit around. I mean, it's not for swimmer's itch, but at least I have a copper sulfate permit to use to show DEC, and then they amended for the swimmer's itch. But as far as,
Yeah, so those are some factors, plus with his, the historical knowledge he has of the lake, he's not starting from square one to see what works best.
Well, that was my
I mean,
question.
that does make it, there's no reasonable equivalent
My next question to you is, can we just do
as a professional service.
an extension from last year's condo? We just extend it through 2022.
Sure. Yeah.
Is it the same, the amount? I didn't
the prices have gone up only because the product has gone up, just like everything else in the world. So you'll notice that per treatment has gone up 400 and change, which I absorbed most of that because my product has gone up over $3 a gallon, and we use 100 and some odd gallons. So you really aren't seeing an increase. You're just seeing my increase that I've been charged. So that's the only increase that you're seeing. Everything else stays the same.
My question to you is, what's the easiest way to move it forward and stay within the confines of?
I think you could justify an exemption as it's because it's a professional service, and also because he's singularly qualified to handle Lake Carmel in a way nobody else is. So you could do either one.
Okay, thank you.
Now-
I got one more, I'm sorry.
Sure.
Can you treat for Phragmites?
I have a license to treat for Phragmites, yes.
I was just thinking about that. There's some
Yes.
Phragmites popping up around the lake that
Yes,
you may
I do
wanna-
have, I'm an aquatic applicator, so yes, I can treat for Phragmites, absolutely.
What are Phragmites?
They look like tall, fluffy cattails, but they're tall and they're an invasive species, and there's patches of it popping up around the lake.
They are invasive, yes.
Sorry, I had no idea what that was.
That's okay, yes.
My question for you is, when you treat, how long do we have to close the lake for? Is this only 24 hours, or it's just while you're putting down?
Yeah, so that rule changes every year as well.
Okay. So what's
So
the
it
rule
used to
this
be
year?
24 hours, so it used
Okay.
to be, I would treat, let's say, a Tuesday, and you come back in the water on Wednesday.
Okay.
Now, DEC has decided where they're going to follow the label restrictions, and the label restrictions for Acutrine, Ultra Acutrine Plus are none. There are no restrictions. You can basically swim in it, drink the water, anything you want to do immediately after treatment.
So
Their
we just
own-
close it while you're putting it?
Yes, their only restriction is that while I'm doing the treatment, nobody should be on the lake. And every time I do a treatment on the lake, the first thing I do in the morning is I call the Kent Police Department, tell them I'm going to be on the lake with my motors and my boats, because they inevitably get, 7,000 people calling them because, I'm doing a treatment, but that's okay. I handle that pretty well with the town official, the town of Kent Police Department. But yes, the restriction will be posted as, it'll basically say on the yellow signs, which we will talk about, if we go through how many we need to put up, it will say no entry during application. That will be the only restriction. It will say swimming restrictions none, swimming restrictions none. It'll say none. It'll say the word none. But yeah, that's the only restriction. But it does take me to about 4 o'clock to get finished.
Right.
But, after 4 o'clock, they want to go in, they can go in. It's
Or
perfectly
9
fine.
a.m. the next morning, they can go in, so it's
They,
not like
yeah,
they
they
have
can
to
go
be
the next
open.
morning as well. Yeah, absolutely.
All right,
Absolutely.
thank you very much.
You're
Just an
welcome.
FYI, Ann's not coming back this summer.
Excuse me?
Ann is not coming back this summer. You're going to have to get a
Oh.
relationship with a...
A new one? That's perfectly fine. She can have my cell phone number. I mean, the other, I've met many of our other
I would just...
lifeguards. That some of them still have my cell phone and everything else. But they take lots of pictures. They text me. I come and say, like I said, I'm really close by. I come anytime and make sure everything's taken care of, and I communicate with your office very quickly and very easily.
Great, thank you.
Thank
Okay.
you.
Mark, I just have one thing. Sure. I'm the liaison for the Kent Lakes Association, totally separate.
Say what again, I'm sorry?
The Kent Lakes Association.
Okay.
It's all the other town lakes, but
Yes.
it's not under our auspices.
I heard about that. Yes.
Have they had any contact with you in the past?
I think they put out to bid one lake to be treated. I forget what it was.
Was it Tibet?
Yes, Lake Tibet. They were looking for like drone things that I'm not qualified.
Well,
I
no,
don't
the
think so.
only thing I want to do is invite you to our next meeting. So
Oh,
I will
okay.
send you the Zoom info. I have everything
Okay,
here. So
sure.
that's where you can come and just talk in the beginning of it and just say, look, if you're looking into this and you're interested in this, please reach out to me and I'll come to
Yeah,
it.
I mean, the hard part with what I do is, you know, people hear the word chemicals and they get afraid, and I understand that. And, you know, they want to, you know, put chemicals in the water. People don't want to hear that as well. But, you know, just like everything else, when done correctly by licensed professionals, it works very well.
Yeah, because our last two meetings, they basically have been just all about invasive species, and I understand that they don't want them cutting in the lake, but there's other things with, I don't know, my mom's lake, she lives in South Lake, it's,
Yeah, it's
I wouldn't want to swim in it, I used to swim in it all the
Do
time.
you see Hillside? You know Hillside Lake in Hopewell Junction, town of East Fishkill?
Yes.
So we got rid of all their lilies this past year. I take care of all the ones since I live in the town of East Fishkill, and I provide them the same type of services. So we got rid of all their lilies, which is good. You look so familiar to me, though, like really familiar to me.
I think I met with you once with the former supervisor.
Okay, yeah, and I know you look really familiar.
He's not new. He's
I've been here for,
Oh, you're not new. Okay, I was just told that was like most of the board members were new.
yeah, not me and her.
No, we're not new.
And I don't know if we ever met.
I don't know. Yeah, but I'm not new either. It's 1, 2, and 3 are new.
Oh, okay.
I'm new, but I met you when you were about 18.
Oh, okay. See that? All right. I've been doing this a long time.
I shared an office with your father.
Yes, my dad. Yes, he's on an island down somewhere in the south, way south. Anything else I can offer? Answer any questions?
Good. Thank you very much for
Okay.
coming in. We'll be in touch.
Okay.
All right,
Thank you. Have a good
you.
evening, everybody.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right.
Well,
Oh. Do you have,
you want Mark to
do you have a
stay?
question for Mark? Why don't you stay until we finish with the,
For both? Together?
yes.
Hi, Walter Etcher, Chair of the Lake Carmel Park Advisory Board. So a couple of thoughts. We emailed you this morning on work that we've done that you're aware of on following through on the plan that we developed last year to bring in a lake scientist or manager, part-time, et cetera. So we have a couple of people on our board led by Jean Garbarino, and just so everybody knows, she's Director of Science Outreach for Rockefeller University in Manhattan. She does this for a living. So she headed up a interview process with 4 different agencies. Bobby Ulick certainly was quite involved since he's on the Lake Association as well. And we came up with a recommendation based upon the 4 groups that we met with. So the whole premise of this, and I think this is important, is that we wanted to get ahead of this kind of agreement and have an agency look broadly at what the issues are around Lake Carmel, starting a really high level of, you know, what the data indicates from the past, what kind of treatments have been done, going all the way back, you know, 20 years or more. And then also talking to other stakeholders like, you know, Rich from Highway on things like, should our planning include how we pave around Lake Carmel and whether it should be pitched towards or away from the lake, which has never been done to our understanding. So based upon that recommendation and many hours of work, we came up with our recommendation. Our hope and our recommendation would be that we look carefully first at that before we going through, and we've never met before. Based upon, Mark, what you had to say, you certainly seem qualified to a layman. But that's part of the challenge here, and it's been an ongoing challenge in the community. Anybody that's been around for any part of time knows that everybody you walk around the lake and talk to about the lake has their own idea about carp, grass, keep the boats low, take them out, what's going on with the snails, why do we have this here? Nobody knows really a whole lot. And that's on us, all of us in this room really, to come together and come up with a logical solution. Like anything else, it should be based on data and research. And Councilman Ruthven, so you're asking, you know, and we know each other. I have tremendous respect for you and the role you play in the county and with the town. But just you asking about the sulfate versus Cutrain and everything else, it's indicative of what we don't know as a whole. So we strongly recommend that we take a look at the recommendation we've put forth and the data sets that we have to look at going forward to then hire somebody to do these treatments. We don't know some of the long-term effects. We don't know exactly how they've been administered even around the lake. And I understand, by the way, I can sympathize with your past challenges, maybe on the way the board operated. And hopefully that will be streamlined. But once we have that plan in place, we can then execute it. So I don't think it would take a whole lot more time to carefully look at our recommendations on the agency we'd like to implement, and then at that point make a decision on the treatments. Now, the other thought I would like to share, though, so I understand there's a practical matter, and we got to get things done and in place, and you got to kind of thread the needle, not knowing exactly what the weather conditions and impact of the lake will be. But it strikes somebody like me as a little odd to think that we would simply, and again, total respect for you. I'm not just saying that, people say, with all due respect, and they hammer you. I'm not doing that here. What I'm saying, though, is that how do we know that you're the only one qualified to do this and have the treatments to do it? I know you didn't, but that's what I heard. So, and again, you believe me or not, I'm being totally direct and blunt. We act always on behalf of the townspeople around Lake Carmel and the residents. We just think that'd be a smarter way to go about it, and that's a recommendation.
All right, can I address it from a little, same point you're coming from, but I did read your report, and some of the recommendations your report talked about the Cutrine Ultra, but it also talked about having, and this is where I felt that the lake manager comes into place, observing the applicator applicating it, and seeing its effects and studying it through the process. And I just whispered over to Jamie that I feel like that is the avenue we should go. We should have the manager in place, continue on with the treatment that we know or we hope has been effective. Maybe the stuff didn't even work and it was nature that made it effective, but our beaches were open for most of the time compared to before when we were treating it. And I just want to make sure that we haven't missed the boat, and I'd rather run both of them simultaneously. I did read through the report, and that's why I was actually quoting it from the report that they submitted about the depth. And he actually, the report said 2.5 foot, and he said you need to treat it at 5 foot. I mean, he's in the business, I'm not. I can't question that.
Right.
But I do feel that I did read that observing how it's applicated and if it's mixed right, and that's all part of what we're going to hire this lake manager to do. And we certainly can't have him observe it if we don't have it lined up to have it done at all. And that was my point for moving this forward tonight.
Yeah, that sounds logical. Yeah. Bobby, any other comments? Thank you. Appreciate it.
Hello, everyone.
Hi.
Good evening.
Mark, first of all, I want to thank you for your years of service. I know you've been in the community for quite some time. I have a couple of questions. I'm just trying to understand, and I guess I should give a little background myself too. As Councilman mentioned and Walt mentioned, I'm actually on the Lakes Committee as well as Lake Carmel. And what we're trying to do is just what Walt said, come up with some idea or plan to completely understand what is happening with the lake. And of course, as I just mentioned, we thought it would be best to look at a lake manager to come in and take a look at the studies, the information, the data that we've had over many, many years to make sure that we are doing the best that we can for the lake. You've obviously been an intricate part of that over the past, I think you're doing 7 or 8 years. I would assume at this point that you're doing the right thing, you're the professional, you've been there, and again, thank you for your work. But I'm really looking to try and understand what other options, if there are other options to utilize. And I don't know if that comes under your regime and your science and your background. And I'd love to be able to ask you just right up front, what would you recommend? What would you suggest?
Unfortunately, with a harmful algae bloom, there is absolutely no other way to manage it except...
You got to talk into the microphone. Sorry.
So it's unfortunate that when you have a harmful algae bloom, there are no biological treatments, there are no mechanical treatments. The only way to manage a harmful algae bloom is by this proper use of a product. There are a few different products on the market. Most of them are copper-based. There are a few of them that are peroxide-based. And from all my years of experience, I've only found the Q-Treen Ultra to be the best products at the best price to utilize for a harmful algae bloom. Again, we're not talking about weeds. Weeds, you can have, the possibility of many, many different types of methods. A harmful algae bloom only has one method of management. And unfortunately, that's how it is.
Now, I guess the question, if I may take up some of the time toward the public's time, the question comes, you're obviously trading for the harmful algae blooms, for the HABs.
Correct.
The materials that you're using, there's got to be, I'm assuming, some type of repercussions, and is that something we need to look at for the future? Obviously, not this year, maybe even not the next few years, but what is to become of the treatments that you're utilizing in the future? Do we have something to worry about? Is this something of concern?
You have absolutely nothing to worry about. We've been performing, you think about a reservoir. Okay, all reservoirs treat their reservoirs for taste and other things, and they use tens of thousands of pounds of copper sulfate for 30, 40, 50 years. I'm not going to say that there's no 100% long-term effect, but, like all of you, I got 3 COVID shots. So we all got boosted. I've been using Q-Treen Plus and Q-Treen Ultra since the 70s. I've never seen a harmful effect from any person, anybody. There has been in this lake, unfortunately, and many other lakes, fish kills, because when you do treat, when you do any type of treatment, you do lower the oxygen level of a water body. So we do make sure we take the proper measurements of the oxygen level. As a matter of fact, the first year when we did the copper sulfate treatments, we were all ready to go, and I went out into the lake and we had like 3 milligrams per liter of oxygen, and I had to not do the treatment. I had to stop right where I was. And I was all ready to go, and we stopped. The last couple of years, we've had absolutely no problems. You've had between 6.5, which is just about what I want as the smallest, to about 9 milligrams per liter of oxygen. So your oxygen level has been good. I haven't said we had 1 year, I think we had about 100 dead perch, but that can happen, at any time for any reason. At a 200 acre lake, 100 dead perch is not too bad. But every once in a while when I treat the lake, I see a dead carp floating around because they're going to go sooner or later. But as far as, long-term bad effect of the Q-Treen Ultra, as I said, I've been using it since I was about 16, 17 years old. And it's not like you get this buildup of copper sitting at the bottom of the lake that people think you get. It's not like it's going to, persist in the lake. It doesn't work that way. There's a lot of science that says it dissipates after a certain amount of time. And as a matter of fact, if you took a copper compound test after in the water body after, I think, 7 days, you wouldn't even find any copper left from the treatments.
I think it says a lot that they're letting you go swimming immediately after application now, too.
That's what I was going to say.
Well, that was always on the label for Q-Treen. So Q-Treen, just so you understand what Q-Treen Plus is, it's a copper-based product. And the copper, so Q-Treen Plus is a liquid that contains a certain amount of copper elements. And it is bound inside the solution. Once it hits the water, the copper is slowly released, which is what we like, because when you use copper sulfate, you're throwing the copper into the water body. With Q-Treen Plus, you are, and I'll describe the difference in a second, with Q-Treen Plus, you're releasing it slowly. Q-Treen Ultra came out about 7 to 10 years ago, and the difference between the products is that it has a wetting agent that is opposed to what it does is it actually attacks the cell membranes of the blue-green algae and allows the copper to get in there and kill it quicker. That's why we use the Q-Treen Ultra. That's the difference. So that's kind of like the science behind all of it.
So another question, actually 2 questions that come up, if I may, again. As far as the testing prior, and do you also do post-testing?
Absolutely, yeah.
And is it just dissolved oxygen that's done?
I'm familiar with the process. Yeah, I mean, basically what we do is we take, we always dissolve, I always come the day after, so the day of the treatment we do dissolved oxygen and a pH and an alkalinity, and the day after we come back and we do the same thing. Always, I've always have, because I was, not that, like I said, the one thing about this lake is I'm right here, so I can get to it very quickly, and I'm very sensitive to the town, wants everything done correctly, so I'm constantly on the lake before and after any treatment is done. So yeah, we do pre and post treatments. And again, the whole idea is that, and when it's 95 degrees outside, you don't want your lake shut down. I mean, and unfortunately, you know, if I said to you, when you had the weed problem, I don't know how long you've been a resident.
My entire life.
Okay, so you remember the harvester.
Oh, absolutely.
Okay, and you remember all the weeds you used to have.
Absolutely.
And they came and took out all the weeds.
Yes.
Okay, so unfortunately, there's nothing that could pull out that blue-green algae. It's just, in 1 year, I'm not sure if you all know, you were actually granted a grant by the state, and a different company out of Massachusetts came out and tried to use Green Clean on your beaches. And they were coming from a grant from this New York State before COVID hit. And there was some money given to that, and they put Green Clean all over the beach areas every couple of weeks, and nothing happened with that. And then there was another grant, which I'll tell you about, and that was for Mohegan Lake and Putnam Lake, and there was one other lake and I don't remember. They received what's called an alum treatment. Now, alum is actually illegal to use in the state of New York, and Governor Cuomo at that time decided to do a grant and just an experiment to see what would happen, and they did a huge alum treatment. And alum is a liquid-based product, and it's supposed to bind the phosphate and drop all the nutrients to the bottom so that you don't get a blue-green algae bloom. And that was done on Mohegan Lake. And that was done in April, and I was on the lake treating it by the end of June. So it didn't work either. And everybody said I didn't put enough alum in. That's why it happened, but it, you know, in both water bodies, they did the alum treatment, and it didn't control any of the algae blooms. Because in other states like Florida, to do an alum treatment that it's legal to do in, they actually have to do an alum treatment like every couple of weeks. And then you have to make sure that the pH is specific, because an alum treatment will lower the pH like that, and that will kill all the fish. You don't want 218 acres of dead fish. So
Mark,
you're kind of caught.
clarify, which I think you're doing, whatever treatment you or anybody uses in New York State has to be approved by New York State.
Yes, yeah, you get a permit from the state, yeah. Yeah, permit's approved by DEC, our region is Region 3, so it goes up to Region 3 New Paltz. And what's nice about the copper-based products is once the permit's issued once, it's good for, it has to be renewed, but it's going to be renewed for 5 years. I don't have to go through like it doesn't take like 6 months or 3 months, and you know, it gets approved pretty quickly. And since they're a park district, and the town supervisor writes a letter saying that, you know, the town board makes the final decisions, it just goes right through. You know, it's pretty quick, and it's fairly simplistic now. But like your first permit was like this thick. You know, and then after that, it's, you know, nice for a couple of years, and it gets to be that thick again.
Thank you.
So-
Very educational. This is, for me anyway, this is exactly what we're looking here. And again, what we're looking at just to be a little smarter on how we go about it. And frankly, the more, what was the last one tonight? The more we can spread the word that we're doing the right thing, because people don't know. You know, we go see people every day, right?
Yeah.
So
What's going on with the lake? You know, you follow your answer because you don't know the science. We don't know that these applications are being done, or why, you know, how they're state approved. So I think we just need to do better on the communication side of things. I think this is a good step we're taking, and I'm glad to hear it from Mark's side.
So, Walt, I just want to say I was very, very happy with the report that your committee put in for the lake manager. I think we should move forward with that. I hope that can work in conjunction with you, somebody that can get data from you. A lot of things in the reports had nothing to do with this. I mean, they had to do with the cause of the blue-green algae and the nutrients getting into the lake. Those are physical things that we have to deal with on a town level that have nothing to do with this treatment. I mean, this is truly to make sure our beaches stay open this summer.
What is, if you don't mind me asking, for a million questions, I apologize.
You can ask as many questions. I'm a teacher. I'm used to it.
Appreciate the board's time too. What is, I know you spoke briefly about what the key features are in requiring or starting the treatment process. Could you elaborate a little bit more on that? Like, in other words, I'll be honest with you, I've been doing a sea slap for the past 6 years on the lake, and I think we've actually had some communications via email a couple of times. Once a bloom is sought, or once a bloom is seen, I should say, is that an automatic for a treatment to come in, no matter the size of the bloom?
What you have to worry about with the blue-green algae bloom is that it spreads really quickly. So as soon as I am told that someone has spotted a blue-green algae bloom or any blue-green algae, my first step is to drive around the water body. And if I just see, like, you know, little pieces of it all over the place, I don't worry about a treatment. I plan for a treatment. So basically, you know, again, one of the requirements of me doing a treatment is that the pest that I'm going to control is present in the water body. So I'm not going to do a treatment if I'm just seeing like a little splatter of blue-green algae in a couple little spots, because that can dissipate and go away by itself. I will anticipate the bloom by, again, putting the lake on 7 days notice, so I am able to perform a treatment if necessary. I will, of course, contact the town supervisor and say, I've seen this, I'm putting you on 7-day notice as required, and then I'll keep watching it. Once I see about a 45% coverage of blue-green algae all over the water body, that's when you have to start. Okay, so again, it's not just little pieces, you know, it's little pieces will come bigger and bigger. So once I know there's little pieces, I keep an eye on what's happening, contact with the town board and the town supervisor, and again, I come every single day, I keep looking and looking, and then when I see, when you've seen it, pea soup green, it has to be treated. You know, because as soon as it's pea soup green, the health department's going to shut you down. And again, you know, last year it wasn't as hot, you know, it wasn't as bad. It was 2020, we had the heat wave during COVID. Mm-hmm. You don't want to shut down lake, you know, because that's what the kids want to go to swimming and stuff like that. So that's those are the key elements. So I will promise you that I don't just do a treatment just to throw a treatment in. I don't do that. I don't do that with anybody. You know, whether it's, you know, your lake or of my 300 other clients, I don't operate that way. I wouldn't be in business if I did. We just do a treatment when required, and again, it's by law. So, you know, there are times when the people from DEC will follow me around once in a while and watch me do treatments, and unless they see the pests that I'm, you know, targeting, I could get a violation for it. But, you know, so I don't do a treatment just to do a treatment, just so you know.
Thank you.
Never have, never would. Never have, never would.
Appreciate that.
And
Last question, what if we don't do a treatment? What is the
worst case?
outcome?
Yeah. So worst case scenario, if you don't do a treatment, the blue-green algae. I wish I had my pictures with me. So a blue-green algae bloom will persist in the water body. It will stay in the water body. Your lake will be shut down, and your dissolved oxygen level will drop. Now, here's the worst possible. This is the worst possible scenario. Blue-green algae can die all by itself with a temperature drop. Now, I've seen this happen, and this is something you don't want. You can get a lake full of blue-green algae, and if you don't care about it, nothing bad's going to happen except it is harmful to dogs and cats. They can get very sick from it. Human beings mainly will get just upset stomach and diarrhea from it, or if they drank from it. The worst case scenario, if left unchecked, is that, you know, remember those heavy rains that we had over the summertime? If you had a lake full of blue-green algae and you had one of those heavy rains and it dropped the temperature very quickly, because it dies very quickly from the drop in temperature, you will lose tens of, I don't know how many fish you have, but you know, your lake will be one dead cesspool of fish, because that blue-green algae will suck the oxygen as it dies from the water body so quickly from the rain that your fish are going to come belly up. And then you're going to have a cesspool of fish. So those are the worst case scenarios. Now, it's very possible that nothing can happen as far as you won't have dead fish, but you will have a lake that's green and you're not going to want to utilize it. And it would be harmful to you. That's why they call it a harmful algae bloom. It's not matte algae where it floats all over the place and you can kind of push it away and it's just kind of icky. The reason for a harmful algae bloom is because it's harmful. And it's harmful to dogs, it's harmful to cats, and it can be harmful to human beings. So that's the word harmful from HABs.
Thank you very much for your education. I really appreciate it.
Thank you. Yes, Kathy Doherty. I've been taking care of the lake also from 1989. I was the former Lake Carmel advisory chairperson also. And I handled the carp. So I kind of take exception that he's blaming the carp for the, that there's nothing on the bottom of the lake, because they were put in 1999 when the lake was full of weeds.
Well, blaming the carp, saying that you want
No, it isn't, because then we put them back. I had the DEC down too. We went on the lake. They came with me. We did it conservative. Lake Mahopac put in 15 carp per acre. We put in 12. At that time, that was conservative. In 2008, we put more fish in. We put them 10 per vegetated acre. So that was 2008. So where is your study that it was the carp that took that grass away? Because it was always to leave a third of that stuff down at the bottom of the lake.
And I said it was between the harvester and the carp.
Well, the harvester created more
This
weeds.
isn't the place to argue about.
Well, no, well, Chris, he made a statement, okay, and
Well-
I worked on it very hard, and I'm against the Kutrine. I've always been against it. I don't like the chemicals going into the lake. I'm glad I don't have my children swimming in it with the chemicals in the lake. So, and I've been a resident of Lake Carmel Park District for 45 years.
Has there been blue-green algae on the lake for 45 years?
No, the last few years.
Yeah, that's-
Right.
well, we're
Well,
treating-
it started when I was town supervisor, you know, and a lot of times it was dropping the ropes, and Maureen used to use the word transient, you know, take the motorboat and swish the water around and move it around, because Beach 7, it would always come around that cove, because it's very shallow. The middle of the lake is only 12 feet.
Kathy, I don't know if that's health department approved. I think the health department doesn't want you to do that, to open
To
it up
drop.
and push it out into the lake. I mean, I don't,
Well, I'm just saying, if he can only treat certain parts of the lake, you can move it
No, it's not like I can only treat certain parts, like I can only treat
half the lake.
water body on the side.
Right. But I'm just saying, I've always been against it, because I don't like the copper sulfate in the lake. And years ago, when I first moved here, 45 years ago, it was the copper sulfate that almost killed the lake. And that was probably because it was pure copper sulfate. Because back then, it was years it
in all
took.
honesty, what are all alternatives? If we go your route, we don't put anything in and we
No,
don't have any.
Chris, I know you're going to pass it, but you know what? You just made a statement before.
No, I'm trying to think on your logic. You don't like it. What's
Chris,
our
let me finish
alternative?
I'm trying to be nice to you, Chris, because I don't want people to say I'm beating you up. What I'm saying is that you just made a statement before that there's other things that we have to do, and you're right. So I brought up at the Lake Carmel meetings the septic repair program. You have 44 houses that were in that program, that 15 years have gone by, and we need to make sure that they are now changing their peat, because that adds to this bloom. And we have to make sure that the catch basins along the lake shore are cleaned out, at least the ones that are immediate across from the lake, because that is part of what causes the bloom. We have to make sure the sediment ponds are cleaned out and are working properly.
I agree. There's
So,
a ton of factors, and I even say it goes farther up than what you're just saying. I think it's coming all the way up from up on the hills.
Right.
And that's all in the report that we've just gotten from there. It's all these different physical
Well, I haven't
components that
seen
we
the
have to
report.
do. No, you will soon enough. It'll be coming out through the Lakes Advisory Committee.
Okay.
But there's a whole, you know, the streams that enter the lake are carrying a ton of phosphorus into the lake. There's a whole bunch of physical things we have to do. It's not just one. He's a treatment to an issue that's
Right.
being caused by a greater issue around the lake that
Right.
we have to address.
But I'm just saying, as a resident, I have never agreed with chemicals in the lake. Never. So I'm just saying, I mean, I have a right to say that. So
I'm not telling you
it's
you
not going after him, but I'm saying that I disagree with the chemicals going into the lake. But we have to address these problems, and I'm hoping that everybody starts addressing all the areas, like you said. I know it goes further. The septic repair program was supposed to be 200 feet, 300 feet, and it stopped. So, you know, maybe we have to, as a town board, you have to go and write letters to the county legislator and say, you know, we need to revisit this. You know, you need to put money aside for this, you know, and maybe you can wake them up and start taking care of the lake again.
No, that was a DEP program.
Right.
The septic repair program.
But it was through the county.
The county administered it, through,
yes.
but the funds are no longer supplied. Though I did hear that there may be some funding coming back for it again.
Right, but I mean,
you know, I think on a town level, on the same way you're looking at it, we need to address the septic areas within the perimeter of the lake.
Right.
You know, they recommend, I think, every 5 years to get your septic pump. I think we should have a buffer around Lake Carmel at a certain distance away that's every 3 years. You know, to try to improve these things. And we are working. There's a lot of different factors going on with east of Hudson and everything else to try to improve the cause of the phosphorus ending up in the lake. We're working on that from a lot of different avenues right now.
okay.
So-
But maybe a report to the public, you know, once in a while. I mean, I don't know that these things are going on.
I think we've been talking about them at the Lake Carmel Park Advisory Board
Well,
meetings.
the last one I missed because, you know, after 46 years, my husband actually invited me out for dinner for Valentine's Day. So, so I didn't see that one. So, but I'm just saying, if we could, you know, let us know more about what you're doing around the lake.
We have some grants to work on some of these. We have some pilot, some stream bank stabilization grants that are coming through this year we're working on. We'll certainly announce them when things
But
get
if
up
the
and
town
rolling.
wrote a letter to the county and the county wrote a letter to the DEP, maybe,
You worked with the DEP a long time, Kathy, you know better
Yeah,
than
but I had to
that.
nag and, it worked.
Thank you.
Thank
Thank you, Mark.
Thank you. I think you're good now.
Have a nice evening.
Thank you.
All right.
Somebody gonna read it?
Someone read it.
I want to just talk about the justification for a moment. So this is really a question for our attorney. Do we have a stronger justification to do this on the professional services rather than the sole source? Because I think that there are factors with this particular contractor that would certainly make him win in a competitive bid on the basis of value add to the town. But I just want to make sure that we're really clear with respect to being able then to say that it's a sole source.
Yeah, I feel comfortable with both, but I will say this. I haven't done any independent investigation to confirm that he's a sole source provider. It's clear that he does render professional service, so I'd say go with that one.
But the way the resolution is worded
Yeah.
is adverse to that. And I'm just wondering how soon this needs to be acted upon? Would we be delayed in getting the treatments in time if we don't vote tonight?
I think you probably have a little more time, but not a lot more, because you get the application to the DEC and then it takes quite a long time to get the permit back.
Yes.
So you can't do anything without the
Can the
permit.
resolution be modified on the fly?
Sure.
Oh, do it all the time.
Yes.
Well, if you want to provide alternate wording, I would be more comfortable if it was professional services wording as opposed to a sole source
Let's just come back to it
justification
at
in
the
the
end, let
resolution.
Nancy
But
know.
again, I'm not an attorney, so I
Rewrite it,
refer to
we'll
you.
come
Why
back
don't
to
you
the end.
rewrite it, we'll move on, and we'll come back at the end of the meeting, and we'll go back to that. Is that good for
I
you?
personally don't have the latest and greatest in other computers.
Okay. All right, so we'll move on, and then we'll come back to it, okay?
Yeah, and he was making reference to winning bids. It's clear that there's competitive bidding going on in his field in this region.
Okay.
And it's below the threshold for closed bid, right? So it would just be a matter of
Yeah,
getting
we
a few
used to
quotes if we
get
went
3
that route.
bids for it.
Okay. We'll move on from that, we'll come back. So the next item on the agenda is it's time to talk about fireworks. So Fireworks Extravaganza reached out to us, and they wanted to know what date we wanted for the fireworks for the July 2022. They have June 25th, June 26th, June 7th, June 9th, July 9th, or July 10th. I don't know if everyone has
So
that.
is that the Friday, Saturday before
Yeah,
4th
and
of
the
July
Friday and
weekend, and the
Saturday after.
Friday, Saturday after July 4th?
Let me see. It's Saturday,
Or
Sunday, I
Saturday, is
believe.
it Sunday?
It's a Saturday, Sunday.
Oh, well, I think Saturday would be better.
Well, if we do, hold on. Yeah, if we do the Saturday and then it rains or something, we can always push it to the Sunday.
All right.
If we do it on like the 10th of July, there's nowhere to move it to. We have to then contact them again, so.
Okay.
Does anybody in the public have a preference if it's before July 4th weekend or after July 4th
Everybody
weekend?
always expects it to be the Saturday before.
Okay.
But I hate it in June. I always feel like it's,
I know, but it's just the way that the public, everybody always thinks, they didn't give you July 2nd, it's just the 25th?
no, that was it.
So everybody just always expects it to be, and
Normally-
it seems so far away.
Normally the 4th of July weekend, that it's a lot more money to have it, and this is the way we get more for our money, so that's why.
People expect it to be the before. Usually how it works.
Anyone, I mean, I don't have a preference, whatever.
What are the other dates? The 25th?
The
Ninth-
25th and 26th, and then the 9th and the 10th.
Yeah, the 9th and the 10th.
It's like it's like the middle of, almost the middle of July.
We're so done with it.
Bobby?
Reading this or not reading
Madam Supervisor, I wanted to ask, I know in past years it's been in conjunction with the backyard Olympics. Is anything like that being planned to kind of coordinate and hopefully help make a decision on the date?
We will once we know the date.
Okay, that's based around.
Yes, they will go together.
Yeah, my opinion.
Yeah.
I think either one, I think a Saturday is a better choice just because then we can push it to Sunday.
When is the date that the beach is open on Lake Carmel?
No.
It would be that week.
Probably be that weekend, the 24th.
I think it's that,
School is, the last day of school is the 23rd.
so it would be that weekend.
Right.
That's fine.
What a way to kick off summer, right?
That's
School's
absolutely-
ended, time for fireworks, okay. We don't have to vote on anything, it's just, right, there's no, it's just, I have to
So
just
it's the
contact them.
25th.
You'll get a
Okay.
contract from them then.
Yes, I will, my secretary will contact them tomorrow and we'll start moving. This was just the first step that we had to do.
Okay.
Should we go back to,
Yeah.
You can.
okay.
I'd like to make a motion to pass a resolution accepting proposal for lake treatment services, whereas there is a need for algicide treatment at Lake Carmel, and whereas Limnology Information and Freshwater Ecology Incorporated provides the algicide treatment required for Lake Carmel since 2015, and as a professional service
Is exempt
is exempt.
from public bidding requirements.
Did I miss that part on here?
And you probably just didn't follow my lines, sorry.
Is exempt from the requirements of public bidding, and whereas the town board believes it is in the best interests of the town to accept the proposal submitted by Limnology Information and Freshwater Ecology, Inc. in the amount of $18,500 for 2 treatments for Lake Carmel, and authorize the obtaining of a permit from New York State DEC and New York State Division of Water for an overall price of $18,810. Now therefore be it resolved that the town board of the town of Kent hereby approves the Cutrine Ultra Algicide treatment of Lake Carmel by Limnology Information and Freshwater Ecology Incorporated for the price not to exceed $18,810, consistent with the annex proposal, and authorizes the town supervisor to execute all documentation required to obtain all necessary permits and other documents necessary to give effect to this resolution. I make this motion.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay. All right. The next item we have on the agenda is private cloud hosting for servers. Our IT specialist, Rich Harris, has come to me that our operating servers will soon become basically obsolete in June 2022. On average, servers should be replaced every 5 to 6 years, and the majority of our servers are 10 to 12 years old. So it's better to fix this problem now rather than wait, because we're already finding issues in our receiver of taxes. She can't process everything. The systems keep crashing. I think maybe the town clerks have been having some issues with the slow computers.
We have a KVS server issue, pretty much
Yeah.
every other day.
Yes,
One day.
we're resetting stuff every day. It's really a pain. We can't get stuff done, and it's taking a lot longer than it should. So we have 2 quotes in the backup. One would be to keep the servers here in the town, but that option, in another 5 to 6 years, we'll have to replace the servers. If we go with the other option, where it's a private cloud hosting, we won't have to worry about that. And the other good thing about the private cloud hosting is that if something happens at 2 o'clock in the morning, they are there to fix it and whatever. Where if it's here and we have to wait till someone comes in at 8 a.m., it could be a bigger issue. And it's cheaper to do the private cloud hosting. So I think it's a no-brainer to go with that option.
Option 2.
Option 1.
Option 1.
Option 1 comes to $12,657 up front and 64 cents, and then $184 and $1,847.50 per month, versus option 2, it's $24,675 up front and then $700 per month. So.
Okay.
Any questions?
Could you please clarify what the initial charge is in option 1 if we're going to cloud-based
Sure, give me one.
hosting?
Okay.
I'm sorry, I did not get a chance to look into that ahead of time.
So, I have it all broken down here. Let me just see, I'm sorry. So you want like the setup fee and the server fee?
Oh, that's where the 9,000 is the setup fee
Yes.
that Magna charges. Got it, thank you.
So the cloud is option 1, the private cloud, not having the service. That's option
Hold on, let me just get, I have my notes from Rich and this, so. Option 1 is the private cloud hosting. Option 2 would be leaving the servers on site. To leave the servers on site is a bigger upfront cost, and we don't have the 24/7 monitoring. We want the 24/7 monitoring, and we want the cheaper price.
I think that got everybody confused, as that still says option 1 down there.
Oh, I think, okay, in the backup, it's just a typo on the backup with,
On the
they're
bottom
both
one.
labeled option 1.
Yes. And then there's a server charge for option 1. I'm trying to figure out what that is for. So there's some hardware that we do have to upgrade here.
Yes, we do have
One
some-
server.
Right.
Okay. Is this going to enhance our cybersecurity controls?
Yes, and we're also working on that as well, but yes, it will. I think it's a no-brainer.
I support option 1.
All right.
Yeah, and I have the same questions, even though it says no.
Hi.
No, you have someone else to read
You gotta
it.
read
Oh, I
it.
can't find it, I'm looking. Oh, there it is, all right. I'd like to make a motion for the town of Kent, County and Putnam, State of New York, for the resolution is whereas the town of Kent has received a proposal from Magna 5, the town's phone and internet service provider, to provide the town with additional services for cloud-based hosting, IT support, cybersecurity. A copy of the proposal is annexed herethrough and hereby made part hereof. And whereas the services provided are specialized services and as such do not require the town to obtain additional proposals under the Town of Kent procurement policy. And whereas the town board wishes to retain the services of Magna 5 consistent with the proposal. Now therefore be it resolved that the town board of the Town of Kent hereby approves the proposal of Magna 5. And be it furthermore resolved that the town supervisor is hereby authorized to execute any documents necessary to give effect to the resolutions consistent with the terms hereof, all forms satisfactory to the supervisor and town attorney if requested. I'd like to make that motion.
Are we clear on which one we're?
That's what I was just
Didn't
thinking.
designate which option in there.
I have to designate option 1. Which one is, that was the
Yes.
Option 1.
total of
Total of this
$23,742.64
over 5 years.
over 5 years.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
All right. The next item on our agenda is our highway department. I invite Rich Hoffman up here.
Good evening.
Good
Good
evening.
evening.
Okay, a couple of quick things here. The first item on the agenda was we were going to, Nancy and I were going to redo the procurement policy, but we spoke this afternoon and we decided to ask you to table it until the next meeting because in the last 8 years we passed several resolutions. Best value, buying military and surplus equipment, and we want to write it all into one policy because instead of hunting down these separate resolutions, looking back, so we just want to organize it. We're going to meet Thursday, so we're going to bring it back up again because we have the ability to buy.
So Richie, we're actually discussing this on the whole town level and found out through her town board training stuff that we're supposed to review our procurement policy every year and renew it, and it hasn't been done in at least the 3 years I've been here.
2016.
Since 2016.
So it's good.
So we're going to go through the entire procurement policy. We'll get you involved in that. I think we'll set up a couple of workshops and work through the whole thing together on that. We talked to
Okay, we're
Nancy
going to meet
before.
Thursday.
I think,
I'll bring my information over because I know since I've been here with Jamie, we had the purchasing of surplus and military equipment. That's how we got all the deals on those trucks, and then we had the best value, and then the one that we didn't adopt, which I thought we had because we just had the auditors in last week, was the sole source. And those resolutions, up in Cornell with the
The
highway
reason why
school.
it isn't in the procurement policies, because it's not part of the general municipal law, which is what our procurement policy emanates from. It's actually common law, so that's a common law exception to the bidding requirements, as is professional or specialized services.
okay.
So,
I was going to say that, but
You would have said it better, Richie. I promise.
Anyway, and those items in there do empower us to make a better choice and get a better deal for the town.
I think it's important that we do it town-wide because we have other departments
Oh, yeah.
that are, it's affecting the same things and we need to.
We all have to
clean it
follow
up.
the same thing anyway, right?
Absolutely.
Yeah, so that's off the table. Actually, Lauren, you'll be happy, Nancy just gave me whatever these little things are called with all the resolutions on it. So I do not have to call you and have you hunt down all these obscure little things, so I appreciate it, Nancy. And the last thing is the promotion of one of my men to CEO status and the hiring of one to the MEO status. I wanted to do this earlier because the vacancy was a while ago, but with the COVID, at 3 different times I had guys in the hospital. I lost my secretary for 6 weeks. She was in the hospital. I've been backfilling manpower with the mechanic shop because the mechanics are out. And so anyway, I want to do this now, and they meet the qualifications. And I also had to wait because the one that's going to CEO had to get his Class A CDL, and DMV was shut down for a while, so they couldn't even go to take their test. And from now on, everybody in the highway department, a new hire, I have to do it this way, is they have to have a minimum of a CDL Class B. We have 16 snowplow routes, and 7 of them require a shotgun rider. That's 23 guys. I have 19 guys. So if sanitation is out working, I don't have enough men to cover my plow routes. So I have to have everybody's, like you say, every Marine's got to carry a rifle.
Is that requirement a union negotiated requirement?
It is.
Because it's not a law, a New York State requirement that you have.
No, that's between you guys and the Teamsters. You got to negotiate. There's 7 written to the contract. 7 routes require a shotgun rider. So some days we have snow and light snow. We got to go out and sand, and sanitation is still running, and they're our main backup. And if they're not available, I don't have enough guys to cover the routes. I mean, I have an old roster from. I'm going to say 30 years ago. The highway department had 39 people. Now they're down to 19 people. So I understand the town board's decisions in the past because you're trying to save money. You're trying to give a viable budget to the public. So it's completely understood. But in our end, when it's a half an inch of snow or the ice on the road and everyone's screaming at you on the phone, and it's a whole other world there.
No, I agree. I'm just,
But these guys are
shotgun
qualified.
riders are becoming a thing of the past. The county no longer has them. The state doesn't use them either, I don't think. It's with new technology and new equipment,
What
that's
is the purpose of having?
safety. But, we have all these new trucks with mirrors and lights and cameras and stuff all over
Yeah.
them. They don't use them, they don't need them anymore.
There's a couple of roads, like way out in western Kent, the hell is it off the East Boys? There's a couple of roads where there's big drop-offs. And, you go out at 2 o'clock in the morning with snow. There are a couple of real dangerous routes, but I think it could be modified. But that's not up to me. So anyway, these 2 people I'd like to hire and promote. And thank you very much. Nancy, thank you for this.
Lauren thanks you too.
And Lawrence.
All right, are we good? Any questions? No? Okay.
Who's doing it?
I'll do them.
All right.
Nancy, can I do them together? Just read one and then read the other one to save some time? Or do we
gotta
have
read
to
them
do it
separate.
separate?
Vote individually.
Okay. All right. I'd like to make a motion to adopt a resolution to hire a motor equipment operator for the town of Kent Highway Department. Whereas there is currently a vacancy in the position of motor equipment operator for the town of Kent Highway Department, and whereas by letter dated February 22nd, 2022, a copy of which is annexed hereto and incorporated herein by reference, the Kent Highway Superintendent has hired Tyler McMath to fill the position of motor equipment operator and recommends waiving the 26-week probationary time period for purposes of joining the Teamsters and for health insurance only. And whereas the town board wishes to accept the recommendation of the superintendent of highways and confirms the hiring of Tyler McMath as motor equipment operator. Now therefore be it resolved that the town board of the town of Kent hereby authorizes the hiring of Tyler McMath as motor equipment operator in the highway department and waives the 26-week probationary period solely for purposes of Mr. McMath joining the Teamsters and obtaining health insurance. And be it further resolved that the town board of the town of Kent hereby authorizes the supervisor to execute any and all documents necessary to give effect to this resolution. I hereby make the motion.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye. I'd like to make a motion to adopt the resolution to hire a construction equipment operator for the Town of Kent Highway Department. Whereas there is currently a vacancy in the position of construction equipment operator for the Town of Kent Highway Department, and whereas by letter dated February 22nd, 2022, a copy of which is annexed hereto and incorporated herein by reference, the Kent Highway Superintendent has promoted Troy Chadwick to fill the position of construction equipment operator, and whereas the Town Board wishes to approve the action of the Superintendent of Highways and confirm Troy Chadwick as CEO, now therefore be it resolved that the Town Board of the Town of Kent hereby authorizes the hiring of Troy Chadwick as construction equipment operator in the Highway Department. And be it further resolved that the Town Board of the Town of Kent hereby authorizes the supervisor to execute any and all documents necessary to give effect to this resolution. I hereby make the motion.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
All right. The next item we have on our agenda is a panic button for the Lake Carmel Park clerk. In all of our offices, we have panic buttons under our desks, and for some reason, when they installed them, the Lake Carmel Park clerk did not get
Bye, Richie.
did not get one in her office. So we have two options, a hardwired one or a wireless. Doyle Electric is the one that has all of our other panic buttons. They're recommending the wireless, which is a little bit more money, but we also are thinking of changing desks in the Park District office, so in order to have it wired and then removed and put on the new desk, it would be more than this. So they're recommending the wireless, and I'm asking the board to approve the wireless panic button.
I don't have an issue.
Excuse me?
No,
Yes, now it will.
It's just a silent alarm. Is that option 1 or option 2, Jamie?
It's option 2. Hold on. Sue just asked me about a battery. Oh, backup batteries. We will furnish and install one backup battery.
12-volt, 7-amp backup battery. 12-volt, you can run your car off of it. So it says 12-volt, 7-amp battery.
That's a lot of kids.
Sounds like it's going to be a big panic button.
It's what your
It's going to be
car
a big
has in it.
panic button. We're not strapping it to the desk. That's what. Oh. All right.
All right, so
I know. I think that's why she's pushing for it now. She didn't have one last year.
proposal number 2.
I know. I didn't realize she didn't have one in her office. You can't see them, you know, if you look at the desks. You don't know, and she.
Jamie, where's the price? I'm writing it in.
Okay,
on
it's
the blanks.
$2,300.
Okay, down here.
Even?
Yes.
And that's a proposal number 2.
Yes. The hardwired one is $2,000, but if we have to have them install it and then uninstall it, it will cost more than the $300, so it's better just to have one that we could even move around if we need to. Right, if we need it somewhere else, it can be put somewhere else.
It's portable. You carry the battery and the button
Yeah,
with
probably.
you. Put it in your pocket.
I don't think it's gonna fit in your pocket.
You do this one?
Yeah. I'd like to make a motion to adopt a resolution accepting a quote for a panic distress dress alarms, LCPD Clerk's Office, County of Putnam, State of New York. Whereas the Town of Kent is in receipt for a proposal to provide panic duress alarms in the office of Lake Carmel Park District at the Town of Kent Town Hall. And whereas the Town Board is in receipt of the 2 proposals from Doyle Security Systems, and whereas the Town Board wishes to accept proposal number 2 of Doyle Security Systems, an overall price of $2,300. Now therefore be it resolved that the Town Board of Town of Kent hereby accepts the quote of Doyle Security Systems to provide panic duress alarms at the Lake Carmel Park District Office at Town Hall for a price of not to exceed $2,300. And be it further resolved that the town supervisor is hereby authorized and direct to execute any and all agreements and other documents necessary to give effect to this resolution, consistent with the terms hereof, all in form satisfactory to supervisor and the town attorney. I'd like to make that motion.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay. The next items, I think we're actually going to lump F and G together, is that?
No, I think they're in one resolution, but they're broken
Okay.
out separately, I think.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah, you corrected one.
Why do you need a flammable storage cabinet?
Because I need one in my office for all the personnel files, because God forbid we have a fire, all my files go up and I
They're
have
in the
nothing.
cloud.
No, they're not.
You're in good profile.
I'm going to put you up in the cloud.
No, play nice.
So we need a flammable storage cabinet in my office for personnel files.
Store the fireworks in it.
Well, they need one in their office as well, but mine has to be a little bigger. I
Bigger.
have a lot of files for personnel. If there's a fire in this building and it goes up, we have nothing. So I need the flammable file cabinet.
This is the U-line.
That's where, I could
You know
probably
what?
fit in the drawer.
I apologize. When I first saw this come through, I thought it was like a gasoline flammable cabinet. That's why I'm thinking this big yellow thing with the flame thing on it with gas cans in it. I didn't realize it was the Lake Carmel Park District office
Yeah.
that wants one. That's why I was questioning why you needed a gasoline
Oh.
flammable cabinet in your office. Now I understand.
All right.
Any questions?
Any questions on my flammable cabinet?
I would just point out that, and maybe this is for long-range planning, what a lot of medical facilities do now is they scan materials and then they have a backup in the cloud for future reference.
Well, I think
and-
currently we would not even be able to do that with our current
Exactly.
state of our
So I
servers.
said for future reference in future planning, that may be something to consider.
And we have a lot of things before us before we can start scanning all these files in. We have a
Yes.
lot of stuff to do on the to-do list.
Who's reading it?
All right. Read it on my cabinet.
I make a motion to adopt the resolution authorizing purchase of cabinets for the town hall. Whereas the town board of the town of Kent received a quote from U-Line to provide a standard flammable storage cabinet with an additional shelf for the Lake Carmel Park District office in the overall amount of $1,081.48, and a quote from U-Line to provide a fire-resistant file cabinet for the town supervisor's office in the overall amount of $3,299.77, copies of which are annexed hereto and incorporated herein by reference. And whereas the town board has determined that there is a need to purchase storage cabinet and the file cabinet and wishes to authorize the purchase from U-Line consistent with the quotes, and now therefore be it resolved that the town board of the town of Kent hereby authorizes and approves the purchase of the storage cabinet with an additional shelf and the file cabinet from U-Line for an overall price not to exceed $4,381.25. And be it further resolved that the town board of the town of Kent hereby authorizes and directs the supervisor to execute any and all documents necessary to give effect to this resolution. I hereby make the motion.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
The next item on our agenda is municipal repairs. So the first thing is we have a resignation from one of our mechanics. And then, I'm going to lump 1 and 2 together. Is everyone good with that?
Yes, those are the same
And then,
resolution.
the other part of that is to advertise for a full-time mechanic for municipal repairs.
I can read one for a change if you'd
I
like.
think they're both in there.
It's combined. Okay, I make a motion to adopt a resolution accepting the resignation of municipal repairs mechanic. Whereas, by letter dated February 23rd, 2022, Nicholas Mancuso, head of municipal repairs, informed the town board that Nick Matos, a mechanic with the municipal repairs, submitted his resignation, effective as of March 9th, 2022. And whereas the town board wishes to accept the resignation of Mr. Matos and authorize municipal repairs to internally post an advertisement for a mechanic to fill the position left vacant by Mr. Matos' departure for 5 days, And if the position is not internally filled, authorize the town clerk to advertise to fill the vacant position. Now therefore be it resolved that the town board accepts the resignation of Nick Matos as mechanic for municipal repairs with many thanks for his service to the town. And be it further resolved that the town board hereby authorizes municipal repairs to internally post an advertisement for a mechanic. And if the position is not internally filled, authorizes its town clerk, Yolanda D. Capelli, to advertise for applications for the vacant mechanic position. I make that motion.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
The next item on our agenda is the purchase of a sanitation truck. Just trying to find. The backup for it. I don't know. Mine.
I have the letter he sent. So did we budget in 2021 for this truck?
For this truck, yes, this one is budgeted.
Okay. For that? This letter?
Yeah, I just found the letter. So our service manager, Nick Mancuso, is recommending, what is it? This Mack 2024 sanitation truck.
Mack Granite 2024 model year. It's 2 years newer than this year. You can buy a vehicle 2 years ahead.
Well, what? I know they take. 2024. I don't know if it's a.
It says model year.
2024 model year is what it says.
2024 model year. Is that how far out we have to order them ahead?
Well, it's saying the delivery estimate is Q1 or 2 of 2023.
Well, that would make it a 2024.
So
then.
it will be a
That makes
2024 by the
sense,
time we get it.
Wow.
Yeah.
Hope they don't need it soon.
I think that's why.
Yeah,
I think that's why
yeah, makes sense.
we're ordering it now so that we can get it. Hopefully in a year, maybe 2 years. Any
Okay,
questions?
no, as long as we have it in our budget.
Yep. Look at this, delivery estimate, Q1 or 2 of 2023.
That's gotta be how far behind they are
I
in
know,
making them
that's
right now.
crazy.
That's pandemic.
I know.
Right. Good?
Yeah.
I'd like to make a motion to pass a resolution authorizing the purchase of a truck for sanitation department, whereas the town board of the town of Kent has received a recommendation from the town municipal repairs service manager, Nicholas Mancuso, recommending that the town purchase a 2024 Mack Granite for the sanitation department, hereinafter collectively the vehicle, and whereas the town board has been provided with a proposal for the vehicle from Beam Max Sales Service Incorporated in the amount of $247,216.16, or 60 cents, excuse me, pursuant to Onondaga County Contract Number 8996. Onondaga is a county in New York State, and whereas Section 103, subsection 16 of the General Municipal Law accepts from competitive bidding purchase contracts for apparatus, materials, equipment, and supplies for the use of contracts let by the United States or any agency thereof, any state or any other political subdivision or district, and whereas in accordance with the town's procurement policy and the general municipal law, the town board wishes to authorize the sanitation department to purchase the vehicle consistent with the above referenced proposals. Now therefore be it resolved that the town board of the town of Kent hereby authorizes and approves the purchase of a 2024 Mack Granite from Beam Max Sales Service Incorporated pursuant to Onondaga County Contract Number 8996 for a total amount not to exceed $247,216.60. And be it further resolved that the town board of the town of Kent hereby authorizes and directs the supervisor to execute any and all documents necessary to give effect to this resolution. I make this motion.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay. The next item on our agenda is to auction a TerraStar from the Parks Department. Our service manager, Nick Mancuso, wants to auction off our 2016 International Terraster 4x4 combination dump body and plow. It no longer fits the department's needs, so he would like to auction it off.
So I'd like to discuss this publicly. I have a little bit of an issue with this. It wasn't a year or two ago that this truck was in the highway department fleet. And our highway supervisor and chief mechanic came and said this would be a great truck for Lake Carmel, and got Lake Carmel to buy it for them. And now all of a sudden here, not even barely 3 months into a new year, it's not a great truck for Lake Carmel. This truck has not been put into the budget to be replaced this year, and I see that they want to purchase a replacement with it. So I did a little digging into this today, and the thought is that they're going to auction this truck off for a cost that would pay for the new truck. But I don't like that idea either, because how do we know how much is going to come in from the auction? This whole thing seems completely backwards to me. We're going to be purchasing a new truck that we never budgeted for, and the idea that we're going to auction off a truck that we just sent down to Lake Carmel because that was going to be good for them just a year or two ago, and now it's not good for them, and we're guessing how much we're going to get on the auction. If we're going to go this route, I'd rather see this truck auctioned off and see how much we get for it before we go out and buy a new truck. If that truck only brings $10,000, we're going to pay $60,000 out of a budget that we didn't even budget for this year to buy the new one. So that's my piece on it.
Well, I think we should authorize for them to auction off the truck and then go from there. We can talk to Nick again, and after we see what we bring in from it.
I do understand that the one they're looking at is sitting on the lot somewhere, but this is not the right way of going about this. I mean, if the truck needed to be replaced this year, it should have been in last year's budget for this year. I don't know. I'd like to know, though.
The thought is that because of what the prices things are going for on auction, that they'll get a lot more money than what it was worth and what they paid for.
But there's no guarantee.
No, there's no guarantee.
You know,
Right.
It's highest bidder, so
But
if
I think
nobody
we
wants
auction
this
it
truck.
off, we see what we get for it, and then we move on from there. That'd be my recommendation.
Okay.
Is this a truck that they need to use on a daily basis?
Right, that was my question.
I don't think so, because it did no good for them. So no.
I don't know, it was the best thing, just a year or two ago, it was the best thing that they could do, and Lake Carmel paid money to Highway Department for it, and now it's not good, and we're auctioning off. The whole thing is just not sitting well. If you're gonna talk, you gotta talk in the microphone. The public can't hear what you're saying. It looks like we're talking to nobody while you're yelling at us.
Yeah, I think it's important to find out what the department will do if they auction this truck and it doesn't bring in enough funds to buy a new one, and they are without a truck. Can they manage? Is this truck
They don't,
needed?
they're not using this truck because it's,
Well, this truck did replace an old one that they needed to replace. It was an old truck down there. I remember the
Right.
whole scenario.
But-
And they auctioned that truck off and bought this one from Highway. So I don't know if they could go without a truck, to be honest with you.
Right,
I
'cause-
think we should hold off to
so
the
the
next
table
meeting.
both, we'll table the auction and the purchase, and then and we'll get some more information, we'll go from there.
I think
Right,
that's a
because
good
the
idea.
memo from the crew chief does suggest that their intention is to do this replacement. I think it's important to find out what they would do if that were not feasible.
Yep, okay.
Now, what about the other equipment that's listed here? The chainsaws, weed trimmers, did we
We
do that?
already authorized them to auction
Right,
that
last
off.
time.
That was just to show that this could go on to auction with those items.
Right.
Those we already approved at
That's what I
the
thought.
last meeting, or, I don't even, 2
The
meetings ago.
chainsaws look familiar.
Yeah. I think you were gonna buy one.
My wife still won't let me.
I know. She told me. Okay, so we're gonna table those. All right, the next item on the agenda is line striping at Ryan's Field. As some of you may or may not know, we have repaved the lower lot of Ryan's Field all the way up top and over to the baseball, over to the dugout field. And now we need to put lines up. So we got quotes from 3 different companies, and the cheapest was what was it called?
We do
Lines. And
Sorry, I can't help but laugh.
We Do Lines, and not only were they the cheapest, but they are also, the layout that they showed us, they will be able to put the most amount of parking spots than any of the other companies that bid. So my recommendation would be to go to We Do Lines.
One quick question, when you say they were able to get more spaces in, are we going to have families with minivans having difficulty navigating these?
No, so what he did was, it was more like some parallel spots that they could fit more in, and there should be, do you guys have pictures attached to your?
Yeah, it's just not clear
Yeah.
from the diagrams how wide the parking spaces are relative to the kinds of vehicles that our families have.
Chris Kehoe, our Parks and Maintenance, he went out and he saw the layout of everything, and he said it was great. He was
Okay.
very happy with this design.
Good, thanks.
And they also were going to, at the bottom lot, they were going to make it a one-way so that the flow of traffic will also move better in the parking lot. Because if you've been there on a Tuesday night or whatever during baseball season, it's not a fun place to be in that parking lot.
I'm just looking at the
that's true.
resolution, and it says accurate lines, is that
Now
equivalent?
the
No.
next one,
The next one.
Oh, I'm sorry.
it's been replaced.
I had both. I could go ahead and read this if you'd like.
Okay, thank you.
All right, I make a motion to adopt a resolution accepting a proposal for painting of parking lot lines. Whereas there is a need to repaint the parking lot lines at Ryan's Park, and whereas We Do Lines has submitted the lowest quote in the amount of, is it really this low?
Yes.
Yeah.
$1,775 for the painting of the parking lot lines. And whereas the town board of the town of Kent wishes to accept the quote submitted by We Do Lines, now therefore be it resolved that the town board of the town of Kent hereby accepts the proposal of We Do Lines for a total cost not to exceed $1,775, and be it further resolved that the town supervisor is hereby authorized and directed to execute any and all agreements and other documents necessary to give effect to this resolution, consistent with the terms hereof, all in form satisfactory to the supervisor and the town attorney. I make this motion.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
I make a motion to add an item to the agenda for recreation.
Second.
All in favor? Aye. Okay. We are in need of a clerk for our recreation department, and I did interviews, and I have, I'm asking the board to hire Karen Schumann for a salary of $16 per hour and part-time hours of not to exceed 20 hours per week. This person will just be working in our rec office, answering the phones, filing. She will just be a rec clerk. She will not be going to practices, games, anything like that. She will just be used in the office.
Filling out all the registrations and all that.
Registrations, all the organizing, everything.
I second it.
We have to, oh, isn't there, is there a resolution
I
somewhere?
didn't see a
I
resolution.
didn't either.
No, there's no resolution, because
Okay.
this
I
is an
thought you were
add-on.
saying the resolution
Oh,
while
okay,
we were
okay.
talking.
I make a motion to
You
hire
can just do it by motion, that's
Okay.
fine. You don't need a formal resolution.
Karen Schumann for 20 hours per week at a rate of pay not to exceed $16 per hour.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Okay.
That was good.
Is that good with everyone?
The LED light?
Oh, you have to still make a motion. I make a,
The only thing is I don't have the numbers with me. I had emailed everything to you all earlier today, so I don't have the amount for the replacement, the unexpired life.
here, do you want my, I'll bring up the email and then you can, I'll give it over to you.
I couldn't hear everything you were saying,
Yeah.
I'm sorry.
It's for the lights, for the street
Streetlights
lights.
that we spoke about a few meetings back, that we, to get.
We're gonna
the-
replace them with LEDs.
Yeah, so I'd
And
be happy
save
to
the town
explain
money.
if we're going ahead.
Yeah.
But, so I make a motion to add an item to the agenda.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
So this has to do with being able to replace 41 streetlights and 1 floodlight in town. We're currently leasing those lights from NYSEG. And if we replace them with LEDs, the only cost will be about $1,700, I believe, for the unexpired life of these lights. We can get equivalent LEDs.
that the email you wanted?
The costs for the electricity will be cut approximately in half. We did have some discussion about whether we would want to change some of the light levels of some of these lights or perhaps eliminate them. We did consult the chief of police, we did consult the highway superintendent. For the time being, we think it's best to go ahead and replace with the current light levels. And at some later time, we can look into whether we want to decommission any of these lights to save additional money. But taking one away costs between $500 and $1,000 per light. It would save money over the life of the light, but we want to ensure that we're not removing something that's needed. For example, there's one in my neighborhood we talked about maybe could go, and then Chris pointed out that it's at the school bus stop, and so probably we would not want to remove that one. So for the time being, we could go ahead and just go with existing light values, get the replacements, and NYSEG basically hires a contractor to get these replacements done. So by the end of this year, we would have the LED lights, and we would be saving approximately $3,000 or $4,000 per month.
That's a good deal.
So, and now the
And they
phone is
last
timed
forever.
out. I didn't get the exact number
Oh, do you want me-
for the replacement cost.
Do you want me to open it back up, or are you good?
Yes, please.
Okay.
Just if, I know it was about $1,700. So basically, I make a motion to authorize NYSEG to replace our 41 streetlights and 1 floodlight with equivalent illumination level LEDs at a cost not to exceed $1,745.66.
Second.
Oh,
Wait,
I was waiting for you to say I make this motion.
I make this motion.
Second.
all in favor?
Aye.
And this is also something that will help us with our Climate Smart certification. We had talked about replacing the streetlights. We thought it was prohibitively expensive because we didn't know about this NYSEG situation. So I am thrilled that we're taking this step. Thank you, everybody.
Thank you.
Am I ready?
Are you ready?
I'm ready.
Tell us if you're ready.
Okay.
I'd like to ask the board to approve the following vouchers for March 1st, 2022 that went over the threshold. City carding, $5,369.03 for Lake Carmel garbage, $5,191.94 for Lake Carmel garbage. Hogan and Rossi, $5,416.63 for legal services for March. Magna 5, $2,378.89 for the telephone service. Managed Technologies of New York, $2,734 for the Tough Book for the police, and another $2,734 for the Tough Book for the police. Medicare reimbursements, $31,128.30 for first quarter reimbursements. Mobile Tech, $31,944 for the annual maintenance renewal for the police. Nycomco, $2,846 for two-way radios for the police. New York State Department of Civil Service, $228,903.92 for health insurance for February. NYSEG, $2,672.05 for electric West Road, $2,054.06 for electric Dykeman Road Water District Number 1, $5,156.25 for electric for highway, $3,665.89 for electric for the town hall. Purchase power, $2,000 for postage. Robert Green Auto and Truck, $4,770.18 for truck parts. Romer Wallens Gold and Minox, I don't know, $3,949.57 for a grievance. And the next one is from 2021 voucher, Robert Green Auto and Truck, $3,900, I don't know what I'm looking at, $3,921.70 for truck parts. I hope.
Or is it
Yes.
Siemens?
There's a decimal, that zero's a decimal.
Zero's a decimal.
It's a
So
decimal.
so I ask the board to approve the following vouchers as read.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay. Announcements. I have one announcement. So summer is right around the corner, and our Lake Carmel Park District is now accepting applications for lifeguards, head lifeguard, waterfront leaders, and water safety instructors. We have a course running starting on Tuesday, June 7th, so you can get certified to be a lifeguard. You can contact Heidi in our Lake Carmel Park District office, and she will be able to sign you up and get you ready.
I'd like to ask the supervisor if we could go down to one of the printing places and make up some banners or signs and put them up on all the beach fences also, advertising for lifeguards. What do we need? How many active beaches, Bobby? 4, so we just need 4 signs.
What
made
about
up.
those, don't we want like campaign signs too that say this?
Yeah, we can put some on the street
Put
corners
all
also.
around the lake.
I think we need to make a very, very hard active push for lifeguards this year.
Yes.
By the
So
way,
tell everyone.
I already have all mine hired for the park.
No one asked you, Chris.
Something like on social media that we can all share?
Sorry, Bobby. I believe that they're going to be sharing it on the Lake Carmel Park District page. Once they share it on their page, I will put it on the Town of Kent page. I believe it's already up on the website, the Town of Kent website. And it's already going out to all the schools. I don't know, what is it? What is the, I don't know what you guys use.
It's on the school grades, I saw it.
Okay, what is it?
Is that Beach Shore? Is that
No, there was a,
Well, we don't, the high school and the middle school do not.
but you said there was an,
Last week on the.
It's the,
I don't know, Mike.
it's the Carmel Schoolhouse News. So
Yes.
it's an email that's automatically generated to any kids in the district.
Okay, but the best thing is word of mouth. So everyone, you know, your kids' friends, tell everyone, try, you know, we want to have the most lifeguards we've ever had before in Lake Carmel.
We want to fill the class up with the 20,
And then we want to
Kids
ask them
take
to
it.
have another class.
How many do you need?
20 per class, and we'd like to do
2
more than one
classes.
classes.
Lifeguards?
Depends how many we get, we'll make that determination. Just out of curiosity, on the school thing, I did not read it, I didn't see it on there. Does it say that we are offering the classes, or just? Okay, very good, thank you.
At Lake Carmel, at the lake.
Yeah. March 1st.
Yep. I believe the first day is like a class that they have outside on the picnic tables, and then June 11th and 12th, they're in the water. They're in the lake. Mm-hmm. Yes, Bobby.
Supervisor, just a quick thought. Does the town utilize an electronic service tool like Indeed or anything like that for jobs? And would that be another avenue that we could potentially utilize?
So I actually just started to use Indeed for the town because we had it before. I can put this up
Yes.
there. Yes.
Thank you.
Any other?
I don't have any announcements.
I have one announcement. The Carmel Knights of Columbus is starting their annual fish fries on Lenten Fridays. So they're starting this Friday, March 4th, the 11th, the 18th, the 25th, and April 1st and 8th. You can take it out, you can dine in. They're roughly $12 to $14. And I've eaten there plenty of times. It's really, really good. And the Knights do a great job of taking the proceeds and basically donating it to a lot of the community organizations. You can order online at carmelknights.org/fish fry. There is a special seniors only hour from 4:30 to 5:30. And Mike McDonald had asked me to give out his number, so I'm going to. 845-629-4651. We can get that out also. It's seniors and anybody that has lacking of internet access. You can call Mike and you can place your order with him, or you can place it online, and they will have it ready for you. The only thing that they ask is order early, because they have specials every week, and they do sell out very quickly. And again, it's a great community organization. They help out a lot with basically flags on the lake. They are doing the yard signs down by the flag of the Field of Honors down by Lake Lenita this year also. And we actually donated $700 to it, so it brought the cost down to $10 per sign for families, especially if they can't afford it. And we are more than willing to work with them in case they want to get the sign up for the seniors. I think it might have just come out today.
Literally just got it from my girlfriend.
Actually, the funny part,
Too cheap, I said that's gotta be fake.
no, we had, I don't want to say leftover money, but we had leftover money that we were figuring out what we were going to do with it, and we decided to do it for the signs to go down there, so it would make it less expensive for families, especially those that can't afford it.
Okay, so I should order
I would order it ASAP. You can get an extra one, but you're not getting the discount. If you want two, you gotta pay $20 for the second sign.
So if you order two, one will go with the lake and then one to your...
No, the one that goes to the lake will be up there till July 1st. Then it's yours. You can go down and grab it. Okay, you get to keep it. You basically, for the $10, you buy the sign. It'll just be up there until after graduation.
Right, but if you order a set too...
Correct. You get to keep. You get both of them if you order two. The second one, you can bring home and put it in your yard.
So that, lifeguard thing, it says training courses available in June of 2022. That's what it says on that.
So it doesn't say how we reimburse if they need to update it.
Yes, because we will reimburse.
Yeah, so I don't know who you send that to, maybe you wanna...
I can have Heidi update it.
That's a good recruiting tool to know that they can get it paid for if they stay all summer with us.
Okay. Do we have any public comment? Okay.
Be nice.
This is just a question. As I was driving down 52 today, I smelt the septic again. I know Bob has smelt it a few times too, and I don't know if it's like the sewer district, I don't know if it's a sewer district issue or there's apartments across where Kulik is and the dentist, or the gas station up on the left-hand side, but it's like right there
I
at the
smelt
lake.
it today too.
Did you?
Yeah.
Yeah, it stopped for a while.
I drove by, or yesterday I drove by, I smelt it there.
Yeah, and I just thought, I don't know who you would call, or if...
Our septic line does go right through there.
Yeah, yeah, but again, I didn't know if the apartments ever hooked up.
Probably not. They're
Because
residential,
the
right?
pump house is behind the chiropractor.
Right.
But I know there was talk about the apartments at one time, their pipe going behind there.
Tying into it.
So, did they do it?
Is that where the pipe, it doesn't go right up the hill past the gun shop? It cuts up behind
No,
through
it does,
there?
but those apartments, that was what my recollection of it was there was a pipe that
Yeah.
was supposed to go towards that
To
pumping station.
catch those over there?
Yeah,
Right.
so, but I don't know, but there's something either going into the lake or there's something broken.
All right.
So I just thought as you're
What's
driving
the best
by.
avenue for that? Have the building
When I-
inspector go down there and
We'll have
sniff
Bill.
around?
Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
Obviously, if it is something, call the health department.
So we're right by the gun shop?
You got a hand up.
Anybody-
Yes.
Real quick.
Yeah.
Two things. First, thank you very much, the entire board, for hearing us out tonight about the lake. And I know you have such keen interest in it, as well as the members, and obviously the residents of the town, of the Park District, Lake Como. So thank you. I think it's really important. The second thing, I've asked this question before, and Madam Supervisor, I'm going to direct it to you. Is there any update on the Lake Como Community Center and the meeting with the board?
I actually have someone, with the meeting with the board, I'm sorry, I was gonna say the adjuster's going out tomorrow to look at the community center, sorry. We're still working on that, but the good news is that the adjuster's going out tomorrow to look at the Lake Carmel Community Center. That's been on my brain, that's why that's the first thing that came out, sorry.
That's a direction I thought he was going.
I know,
to.
I thought so too, sorry. Any other comments, questions?
Make a motion to adjourn?
Second.
All in favor?
All right.
Aye.
Have a good night, everybody.
Night.